The notification pinged on Matt Davis's phone at 11:47 p.m. on a cold December night in Kansas City. He stared at the familiar pickup location, Arrowhead Stadium's VIP parking lot, and couldn't help but smile, despite the gnawing pain in his abdomen that had been his constant companion for the past 3 months. Travis, again, he muttered to himself, accepting the ride request that had become as routine as his morning coffee. For 2 years now, Matt had been the unofficial personal driver for Chiefs tight end Travis Kelce, a relationship that had evolved from professional courtesy to genuine friendship. Matt pulled his 2018 Honda Accord into the designated spot, the stadium lights casting long shadows across the nearly empty parking lot. The Chiefs had just demolished the Denver Broncos 31-17, and Travis would be riding high on adrenaline and victory. As always, Matt had watched the game on his phone between rides, cheering silently for number 87 from the driver's seat of his car. At 45 years old, Matt Davis had seen enough of life to appreciate the good moments when they came. A former Army sergeant who'd served 2 tours in Afghanistan, he'd returned home to Kansas City 8 years ago to find a world that had moved on without him. His ex-wife had taken their daughter Sarah to California, citing his inability to adjust to civilian life. The divorce papers had been finalized while he was still figuring out how to sleep without listening for incoming mortar. Driving for Uber had started as a temporary solution, something to pay the bills while he figured out his next move. But temporary had stretched into years, and somewhere along the way, Matt had found a strange peace in the anonymity of he was good at listening, good at reading people, and good at knowing when to talk and when to stay quiet. Travis Kelce emerged from the stadium's side entrance, his massive frame unmistakable even in casual clothes. The tight end spotted Matt's car and jogged over, his face lit up with the post-game glow that only victory could provide. "Matty D!" Travis called out as he slid into the passenger seat, a tradition that had started after their third ride together. Most passengers sat in the back, but Travis had made it clear early on that he preferred the front seat. "Man, did you see that catch in the third quarter? The one where you made that Denver safety look like he was running in quicksand?" Matt grinned, pulling away from the stadium. "Yeah, I might have caught that one." Travis laughed, the kind of genuine laugh that reminded Matt why he'd grown so fond of the young athlete. Despite his fame and fortune, Travis treated Matt like family, asking about his day, remembering details about Matt's life, and always tipping far more than necessary. "You know, I keep telling you that you don't need to sit up front," Matt said as they merged onto Interstate 7, heading toward Travis's home in the upscale suburb of Leawood. "I'm just the driver." "Nah, man," Travis shook his head, settling into the seat. "You're not just anything, you're my guy. Besides, how else am I going to hear your war stories?" The conversation flowed easily, as it always did. Travis talked about the game, the upcoming playoffs, his podcast with his brother Jason. Matt shared updates about his neighbor's new puppy and the construction project that was tearing up his street. Neither man mentioned the prescription bottle of OxyContin hidden in Matt's glove compartment, or the oncology appointment reminder that Matt had hastily silenced when it buzzed during the second quarter. 3 months ago, Matt had been doubled over in pain during a routine traffic stop, mistaking the agony for severe indigestion. The emergency room visit that followed had turned his world upside down. Pancreatic cancer, Stage 3, the kind of diagnosis that came with pamphlets about making the most of your remaining time. The treatment plan was aggressive and expensive. Chemotherapy sessions 3 times a week, medications that cost more than Matt's monthly rent, and medical bills that were piling up faster than he could count them. His insurance through the Uber Driver Association covered some of it, but some wasn't enough when you were fighting for your life. Matt had made a decision that night in the hospital parking lot. He wouldn't tell anyone, not his ex-wife, not his daughter in California, and certainly not his regular passenger. The last thing he needed was pity rise, or worse, losing the few steady customers like Travis, who made his job financially viable. "You feeling all right, Matt?" Travis's voice cut through his thoughts. "You seem a little quiet tonight." Matt forced a smile, adjusting his grip on the steering wheel to hide the slight tremor in his hand, a side effect of chemotherapy received that morning. "Just tired, man. Long day. You work too hard." Travis said, and there was genuine concern in it. "When's the last time you took a day off?" "Day off?" Matt chuckled, though it came out a bit forced. "That's for people with salary jobs and health benefits. Us Uber drivers don't get sick days." What Matt didn't say was that he couldn't afford sick days. The medical bills were crushing him, and every ride meant the difference between keeping his apartment and moving back in with his elderly mother. He'd already sold his father's vintage baseball card collection and was considering taking out a second mortgage on his small house. As they pulled into Travis's driveway, the NFL star handed Matt a $100 bill for a ride that should have cost $30. "Travis, come on!" Matt protested, as he did every time. "This is too much. It's Christmas season." Travis grinned. "Call it a bonus." Matt pocketed the money, knowing he'd add it to the small fund he was building for his next treatment. Every extra dollar mattered now, though he'd never admit that to Travis. "Same time Sunday?" Travis asked as he climbed out of the car. "Wouldn't miss it," Matt replied, watching as the young athlete jogged up to his front door. As Matt drove home through the quiet streets of Kansas City, he caught his reflection in the rearview mirror. He looked tired, older than his 45 years, and thinner than he'd been since his Army days. The chemotherapy was working. His latest scans showed the tumor had shrunk slightly, but the cost was taking its toll in ways the doctors couldn't measure. His phone buzzed with another ride request, and Matt considered ignoring it. His body was exhausted, and the anti-nausea medication was wearing off. But the request was from downtown, probably a good fare, and he needed every dollar he could get. Matt accepted the ride and headed back into the city, unaware that in just 2 weeks, his carefully constructed secret would unravel in the most unexpected way possible. The friendship he'd built with Travis Kelce was about to be tested in ways neither man could imagine, and the NFL star's reaction would soon capture the attention of millions around the world. For now, though, Matt Davis was just a driver, navigating the familiar streets of Kansas City with a secret that was slowly eating him alive, in more ways than one. 2 weeks later, Matt Davis sat in the oncology unit at St. Luke's Hospital, watching the chemotherapy drugs drip slowly into his bloodstream through an IV that the nurse had needed 3 attempts to properly insert. His veins were getting harder to find, she'd explained apologetically, a common side effect of prolonged treatment. "Mr. Davis?" Dr. Sarah Chen, his oncologist, approached with a tablet in her hands and an expression that Matt had learned to read over the past few months. "How are you feeling today?" "Like I got hit by a truck," Matt replied honestly, managing a weak smile. "But I assume that's normal." Dr. Chen sat down beside him, her demeanor shifting to the careful balance of professional optimism and realistic concern that oncologists had to master. "Your latest scans show continued improvement. The tumor has shrunk another 15% since we started treatment." Matt felt a surge of hope that he quickly tempered with reality. "That's good news, right?" "It's very encouraging," Dr. Chen nodded. "But I'm concerned about your overall condition. You've lost another 12 pounds since your last visit, and your blood work shows signs that you're not getting adequate nutrition. Are you able to keep food down?" Matt shifted uncomfortably in the treatment chair. The truth was that most days, eating felt like a monumental task. Everything tasted like cardboard, and the nausea was constant. But admitting that felt like admitting defeat. "I'm managing," he said, which wasn't exactly a lie. "Mr. Davis?" Dr. Chen leaned forward, her voice gentle but firm. "I know you're working through this treatment, but your body needs rest to heal. Have you considered taking some time off?" The question hit Matt like a physical blow. Time off meant no income. No income meant no rent, no car payment, no treatment. The insurance covered some of his medical costs, but not all, and certainly not his living expenses. "Doctor, I appreciate the concern, but I can't afford not to work," Matt said quietly. "I'll rest when I'm better." Dr. Chen studied him for a long moment, clearly recognizing the impossible position he was in. "I understand, but promise me you'll be careful. If you start feeling dizzy or weak, I'll call," Matt interrupted, though they both knew he probably wouldn't. 3 hours later, Matt was back in his Honda, heading to Arrowhead Stadium for what had become his regular Sunday routine. The Chiefs were playing the Miami Dolphins in a crucial late-season game, and Travis had texted him earlier. "Game ends around 4:30. You know the drill." The chemotherapy session had hit him harder than usual today. His hands were shaking slightly, and waves of nausea kept washing over him despite the anti-sickness medication. but he'd promised Travis, and beyond that, he needed the money. The latest medical bill had arrived yesterday, $8,400 for his most recent round of scans and blood work. Matt parked in his usual spot and tried to rest during the game, listening to the crowd's roars echo across the parking. The Chiefs were winning. He could tell by the sustained cheering, which meant Travis would be in a good mood. Matt closed his eyes and focused on his breathing, a technique he'd learned in the Army for managing stress and pain. The game ended with a Chiefs victory, 27-10, and Matt watched Travis emerge from the stadium with his characteristic post-win energy. But as the tight end approached the car, Matt felt a sudden wave of dizziness that made the world tilt sideways. "Hey, Matty D!" Travis called out, jogging over. "Did you catch that touchdown pass in the—" He stopped mid-sentence as he reached the car. "Matt, you okay? You look really pale." "I'm fine," Matt said quickly, starting the engine. "Great game today. That touchdown in the second quarter was—" The world went black. Matt came to an unknown amount of time later, finding himself slumped over the steering wheel with Travis's hands on his shoulder, shaking him gently. "Matt! Hey, Matt! Can you hear me?" Travis's voice carried a level of panic that Matt had never heard before. "I'm okay," Matt mumbled, trying to sit up straight. "Sorry, I haven't eaten much today." "Dude, that wasn't just being hungry," Travis said, his face creased with worry. "You were out for like 30 seconds. I was about to call 911. "No," Matt said quickly, perhaps too quickly. "No ambulance. I'm fine, really. Just low blood sugar." Travis studied Matt's face carefully, his athlete's instincts clearly telling him something was seriously wrong. "Matt, when's the last time you saw a doctor?" "I'm fine," Matt repeated. But as he reached for his water bottle in the center console, his hand knocked over his small travel bag. The contents spilled across the passenger seat. His wallet, some receipts, a pack of gum, and a prescription bottle that rolled directly into Travis's lap. Both men stared at the bottle as if it were a live grenade. Travis picked it up, reading the label aloud. Ondansetron, for nausea associated with chemotherapy. He looked up at Matt, his expression shifting from confusion to understanding to something approaching devastation. "Matt, Travis, I can explain," Matt started, but the words stuck in his throat. "Chemotherapy?" Travis's voice was barely a whisper. "Matt, do you have cancer?" The question hung in the air between them like a physical presence. Matt had rehearsed this conversation 100 times in his mind, always imagining he'd be able to deflect, to lie, to protect both of them from this moment. But sitting there, looking into the eyes of a man who had become one of his closest friends, he found he couldn't do it. "Pancreatic cancer," Matt said quietly, the words feeling foreign in his mouth. "Stage 3. I was diagnosed 3 months ago." Travis stared at him for a long moment, processing the information. When he spoke again, his voice was thick with emotion. 3 months? "Matt, why didn't you tell me?" "Because I need this job," Matt said simply. "Because I can't afford for people to treat me like I'm dying. Because His voice broke slightly. "Because I didn't want you to look at me the way you're looking at me right now." Travis shook his head, running his hands through his hair. "The way I'm looking at you, Matt, I'm looking at you like you're my friend, and you've been going through hell alone for 3 months. I didn't want pity," Matt said. "This isn't pity, man. This is—" Travis paused, searching for words. "How bad is it? The doctor. What do they say?" Matt leaned back in his seat, suddenly exhausted by the weight of carrying this secret alone. "They say the treatment is working, the tumor's shrinking, but the treatment it's expensive, and I can't miss work, so you've been doing chemotherapy and driving Uber?" Travis's voice rose in disbelief. "Matt, that's insane. You could have passed out while driving. You could have hurt someone, or yourself." "I'm careful," Matt protested weakly. "Careful?" Travis held up the prescription bottle. "You just passed out in front of me. What if I hadn't been here? What if you'd been on the highway?" The reality of what could have happened hit Matt like a physical blow. In his desperation to maintain normalcy, to keep earning money, he'd been putting others at risk. The thought made him feel sicker than any chemotherapy session. "I didn't think—" Matt started. "No, you didn't," Travis said, but his voice was gentle now, not angry. "Because you've been trying to handle this alone, and nobody can handle cancer alone." They sat in silence for several minutes, both men processing the magnitude of what had just been revealed. Travis was the first to speak. "How much?" he asked quietly. "What?" "The treatment. How much does it cost?" Matt shook his head. Travis, that's not your... How much, Matt? I can't let you... How much? Travis's voice filled the car, not angry but determined. Matt closed his eyes, feeling tears he'd been holding back for months finally threatening to spill over. The full treatment program is about $200,000. Insurance covers maybe 60% of that. So far, I'm about $40,000 in debt, and that's just from the first 3 months. Travis was quiet for a long time, staring out the windshield at the stadium where he'd just played in front of 75,000 people, where he'd caught touchdown passes that would be replayed on sports highlights for years to come. "We're going to fix this," he said finally. "Travis, no, Matt. We're going to fix this. All of it. The treatment, the bills, everything." He turned to look at Matt directly. "But first, you're never driving while you're getting chemo again. Ever." "I can't afford not to work," Matt said desperately. "You can't afford to die," Travis replied simply. "And you definitely can't afford to hurt someone else because you're too proud to ask for help." As they sat there in the parking lot of Arrowhead Stadium, with the last of the game day crowd streaming past them, Matt Davis realized that his carefully constructed world of secrets and independence was about to change forever. The question was whether he was ready to let someone else help carry the weight he'd been bearing alone. Travis Kelce, meanwhile, was already making plans that would shock not just Matt, but millions of people around the world. The next morning, Travis Kelce stood in his agent's office in downtown Kansas City, pacing back and forth in front of the floor-to-ceiling window that overlooked the Missouri River. His agent, David Morrison, sat behind his mahogany desk with a confused expression, watching one of his most level-headed clients display an uncharacteristic level of agitation. "Travis, slow down," David said, setting down his coffee. "You want to do what?" "I want to pay for Matt's cancer treatment," Travis repeated, stopping his pacing to face his agent directly. "All of it. The medical bills, the medications, everything he needs." David leaned back in his chair, studying Travis carefully. "We're talking about what kind of money here? Probably close to $200,000, maybe more," Travis said without hesitation. "And I want to do it anonymous. Matt can't know it's coming from me." "Travis," David's voice took on the patient tone he used when he thought his client was making an emotional decision that could have long-term consequences. "I understand you want to help your friend, but have you thought this through? $200,000 is what I make in less than a week," Travis interrupted. "David, this man has been driving me around for 2 years. He's been fighting cancer for 3 months while continuing to work, because he can't afford not to. He passed out in front of me yesterday because he was too proud to ask for help." David pulled up Travis's financial portfolio on his computer, scrolling through the numbers. "You have the money. That's not the issue. But there are tax implications, legal consideration. If you're going to make this kind of gesture, we need to do it properly." "Then let's do it properly," Travis said, sitting down across from his agent. "But I want it done fast. Matt has a treatment session tomorrow, and I don't want him worrying about paying for it." David was quiet for several minutes, typing notes on his computer. "Okay. Here's what we can do. We'll set up a foundation, the Community Heroes Foundation or something like that. You'll be the primary donor, but we'll structure it so the money comes from the foundation, not directly from you. It'll be cleaner legally, and it'll maintain the anonymity you want. How quickly can we make that happen? If we expedite everything, 24 hours. But Travis, are you sure about the anonymity part? The publicity from this could be incredible for your brand. NFL star saves cancer patient. That's front-page sports section material." Travis shook his head firmly. "This isn't about publicity. Matt's a proud man, a veteran. If he knows the money is coming from me personally, he'll never accept it. But if it's coming from some anonymous foundation that helps working people with medical bills, he might be able to live with that." David nodded, already making notes about the legal structure they'd need to create. "What about ongoing costs? Cancer treatment doesn't end after the initial round. There could be follow-up care, medications for years. Then we'll cover that too," Travis said without hesitation. "And while we're setting up this foundation, let's think bigger. How many other people are in Matt's situation? Uber drivers, construction workers, service industry people who can't afford to get sick? You want to turn this into a larger charitable operation?" "Maybe," Travis said, his mind already working through the possibility. "But first, let's take care of Matt." As David began making phone calls to lawyers and accountants, Travis stepped out onto the office balcony, looking down at the city below. Somewhere down there, Matt was probably getting ready for another day of driving, hiding his pain and exhaustion behind his characteristic good humor. Travis thought about the conversation they'd had the night before, after Matt had finally opened up about his diagnosis. The tight end had driven Matt home in Matt's own car, with Matt protesting the entire way, and had learned details that made his heart ache. Matt's ex-wife in California didn't know about the cancer because, as Matt had explained, she's got her own life now, and Sarah's finally settled in her new school. Last thing they need is me dumping this on them. His elderly mother lived on a fixed income and couldn't help financially. He had a few friends from his army days, but most of them were dealing with their own post-service struggle. "I've been handling it," Matt had insisted, even as Travis helped him to his front door because he was too weak to walk steadily. "I've been handling everything my whole life." That was the moment Travis had made his decision, not just to help with the money, but to show Matt he didn't have to handle everything alone anymore. Now, 24 hours later, Travis was back at Matt's apartment building, armed with a story he hoped would be convincing. He'd called ahead, asking if Matt felt up to visitors, and had been surprised by how grateful Matt sounded just to have someone to talk to. Matt answered the door looking thinner than he had just the day before, but his smile was genuine. "Travis, come in, man. Sorry about the mess. I wasn't exactly expecting company when I woke up this morning." The apartment was small but clean, decorated with military memorabilia and photos of a young girl who Travis assumed was Matt's daughter, Sarah. On the kitchen counter, Travis noticed a stack of medical bills held down by a coffee mug and a pill organizer with enough compartments to stock a small pharmacy. "How are you feeling?" Travis asked, settling into the worn leather recliner that Matt gestured toward. "Better than yesterday," Matt said, which Travis suspected was only partially true. "Listen, about what happened at the stadium." "Matt, stop!" Travis interrupted. "You don't need to apologize for having cancer." Matt laughed, a sound that was equal parts humor and exhaustion. "I've been thinking about what you said, about not driving during treatment. And you're right, it's not safe, but I've been doing some math, and I think I can make it work if I just drive on the days when I'm not getting chemo." Travis felt his heart sink. Even after everything, Matt was still trying to figure out how to keep working, how to keep pushing through an impossible situation through sheer determination. "Actually," Travis said, pulling out his phone, "I might have some good news about that. I made some calls yesterday, and I found something interesting." Matt looked up with interest as Travis opened his email and pulled up a message that his agent had sent him an hour earlier. "There's this foundation called the Community Heroes Foundation," Travis said, reading from his phone. "They provide financial assistance to working people who are facing medical crises. I thought maybe you should apply." "Travis, I appreciate the thought, but I've already looked into programs like that. The waiting lists are months long, and most of them have income requirements that—" "This one's different," Travis interrupted. "Apparently, they fast-track applications for veterans and first responders. And get this, they don't just help with medical bills, they provide living expense assistance during treatment, so people don't have to choose between getting better and paying rent." Matt stared at Travis for a long moment. "That sounds too good to be true." "Maybe," Travis admitted, "but what do you have to lose by applying? I've got the contact information right here." What Travis didn't tell Matt was that the Community Heroes Foundation had been incorporated exactly 18 hours earlier, that Travis was its sole donor, and that Matt's application would be the first one they processed. "I don't know," Matt said hesitantly. "I've never been good at asking for help." "You're not asking," Travis pointed out. "I'm suggesting. And Matt, this isn't charity. This is a foundation that recognizes that people like you, veterans, essential workers, shouldn't have to choose between their health and their survival." Travis watched as Matt considered the possibility, seeing hope and skepticism warring on his friend's face. "What would I have to do?" Matt asked finally. "Just fill out an application, submit your medical records and financial information. They review it and let you know." Travis pulled up another email on his phone. "Actually, they sent me the application link. I can forward it to you right now." As Travis sent the email, he felt a mixture of excitement and nervousness. The foundation was real now. His lawyers had worked through the night to make it legitimate. But the real test would be whether Matt would accept help from an anonymous source, even when he wouldn't accept it from a friend. "Okay," Matt said, taking a deep breath. "I'll apply. But Travis, even if this works out, I want you to know how much it means to me that you care enough to help me find resources." "That's what friends do," Travis said simply. What Matt didn't know was that Travis had already instructed the foundation to approve his application immediately upon receipt, and that the first payment, enough to cover his outstanding medical bills plus 3 months of living expenses, would be processed within hours of his submission. What Travis didn't know was that his act of anonymous generosity was about to become anything but anonymous, in a way that would capture the attention of the entire world. But for now, sitting in Matt's small apartment, watching his friend fill out an application for help that would change his life, Travis Kelce felt something he rarely experienced despite all his professional success: the deep satisfaction of using his resources to make a real difference in someone's life. The foundation was just the beginning. Travis was already planning his next move, one that would ensure Matt never had to face a medical crisis alone again. The video that would eventually be viewed by over 50 million people started by complete accident. 18-year-old Jessica Martinez was visiting her grandmother at St. Luke's Hospital when she spotted Travis Kelce walking down the hallway toward the oncology unit. Jessica, a die-hard Chiefs fan and aspiring social media influencer, immediately pulled out her phone to record what she assumed would be a brief celebrity sighting. "Oh my God, you guys," she whispered into her phone's camera. "Travis Kelce is literally walking right past me in the hospital. I wonder what he's doing here." What Jessica didn't expect was to witness one of the most genuine moments of human compassion she'd ever seen. 3 days had passed since Matt had applied to the Community Heroes Foundation, and the response had been swift and overwhelming. Not only had his application been approved in record time, but the foundation had covered his entire outstanding medical debt and provided a monthly stipend that would allow him to focus on treatment without worrying about rent or basic expenses. Matt had been suspicious at first. No charity moved that quickly or provided that level of support. But his oncologist, Dr. Chen, had explained that the foundation was new and extremely well-funded, with a mission specifically focused on helping working-class cancer patients. "Sometimes," Dr. Chen had said with a smile, "the universe actually works in our favor." Now, as Matt sat in his treatment chair receiving his latest round of chemotherapy, he was processing a phone call he'd received that morning. Travis had called to check on him, and when Matt had mentioned he was having treatment that day, Travis had asked which hospital. "I might swing by if that's cool," Travis had said casually. "I've got some time between meetings." Matt had assumed it was just a friendly visit. He had no idea that Travis had spent the past 3 days coordinating with the hospital's child life specialist to arrange something special. Jessica Martinez was still recording when Travis appeared in the doorway of the oncology unit's family lounge, carrying 2 large bags from a local toy store and wearing a visitor's badge that identified him as Travis K. "What's he doing with all those toys?" Jessica murmured into her phone, zooming in as Travis began unpacking action figures, coloring books, and small games onto a table in the family area. For the next 20 minutes, Jessica's camera captured Travis interacting with pediatric cancer and their family. He signed autographs, took photos, and listened intently as parents shared their children's story. But what made the video remarkable wasn't the celebrity visit. It was Travis's genuine emotional responses to each family's situation. "This is actually incredible," Jessica whispered to her phone. "He's not just doing a publicity thing, he's actually crying with these parents." The turning point came when Travis asked a nurse if he could visit patients who were currently receiving treatment. That's when Jessica followed him down the hallway and witnessed the moment that would change everything. Through the glass window of treatment room 12, Jessica's camera captured Travis embracing Matt Davis. The 2 men clearly overcome with emotion. The audio was muffled, but lip readers would later confirm that Travis was saying, "You don't have to do this alone anymore, brother." What Jessica couldn't have known was that she was witnessing the reunion of 2 friends, one of whom had just learned that his medical crisis had been resolved by an anonymous foundation that his friend had secretly created specifically for him. "Matt," Travis was saying as he sat down beside the treatment chair, "I brought you something." From his jacket pocket, Travis pulled out an envelope. Inside was a letter from the Community Heroes Foundation, along with a check that made Matt's eyes widen. "What is this?" Matt asked, staring at the number on the check. "The foundation wants to expand their program," Travis explained. "They're looking for a patient advocate, someone who's been through the system and can help other people navigate. They want to offer you a job." The job was real. Travis's team had worked with the foundation's board to create a position that would allow Matt to help other patients while providing him with health insurance and a steady income that wouldn't be affected by his treatment schedule. "Travis," Matt said, his voice breaking, "I don't understand how any of this is happening. 3 days ago, I was drowning in debt and trying to figure out how to pay for my next treatment. Now, this foundation is offering me more help than I ever dreamed of, plus a job that actually lets me help other people going through the same thing. Sometimes good things happen to good people," Travis said simply, though his heart was racing with the knowledge that Matt was unknowingly thanking him for his own generosity. Outside in the hallway, Jessica continued recording as she watched the two men's emotional conversation through the window. She captured the moment when Matt broke down crying, and Travis's immediate response of pulling his friend into a hug that lasted nearly a full minute. "This is the most beautiful thing I've ever seen," Jessica whispered into her phone. "Travis Kelce is literally sitting with a cancer during his treatment. This isn't a publicity stunt. This is just human." What pushed the video into viral territory was what happened next. As Travis was preparing to leave, Matt called him back. "Travis, I need you to know something," Matt said, loud enough for Jessica's phone to pick up through the glass. "Before I got sick, I thought I knew what friendship looked like. But what you've done, just being here, just caring enough to find resources for me, it's changed everything. You saved my life, man. Not just by helping me find that foundation, but by showing me that I don't have to go through hard times alone." Travis's response was what broke the internet. "Matt," he said, his voice thick with emotion, "you saved my life first. 2 years ago, when you started driving me around, I was in a dark place. You treated me like a person, not a celebrity. You listened to my problems. You made me laugh. You became family. Helping you find resources isn't me saving you. It's me paying forward what you've already given me." Jessica posted the video to TikTok at 6:47 p.m. with the caption, "Travis Kelce visiting cancer patients at the hospital. This is what real humanity looks like." Travis Kelce, your Chief's Kingdom, your true faith in humanity. Within an hour, the video had 100,000 views. Within 6 hours, it had been shared across every major social media platform. Within 12 hours, it was being featured on national news program. The comments section exploded with emotional response. "I'm literally sobbing. This is why Travis Kelce is my favorite athlete. The way he hugged that man. You can't fake that kind of compassion. This is what celebrities should be doing with their platform." But it was a comment from a user named Real Matt Davis, 87, that sent the story into overdrive. "That's me in the video. I had no idea someone was recording, but I don't mind that they did. Travis Kelce is the most genuine person I've ever met. He helped me find a foundation that literally saved my life. This man has a heart of gold. Blessed the Chief's Kingdom cancer fighter." The fact that the patient in the video was confirming the story and thanking Travis publicly added a layer of authenticity that made the story irresistible to mainstream media. By the next morning, the story was everywhere. ESPN ran a feature about Travis's hospital visit. The Today Show wanted to interview both Travis and Matt. The Community Heroes Foundation received over 10,000 donation inquiries in 24 hours. Travis found himself in the unusual position of being praised for something he was trying to keep secret. When reporters asked about his relationship with Matt Davis, Travis was carefully vague. "Matt's a friend who's going through a tough time," Travis told ESPN. "I'm just glad he found the resources he needed to focus on getting better." What Travis didn't anticipate was how the story would inspire others. Within a week, 3 other NFL players had announced their own medical assistance foundation. Celebrities across all industries began sharing stories of their own charitable work. The hashtag Trotter Community Heroes began trending as people shared stories of ordinary individuals making extraordinary differences in their community. But the most unexpected development came when Matt Davis was approached by a literary agent who wanted to help him write a book about his experience. The proposed title, The Uber Driver and the Tight End, a story of unexpected friendship and the power of asking for help. As Matt sat in his apartment, reading through the book proposal while feeling stronger than he had in months, thanks to the adjusted treatment plan his new healthcare team had developed, he realized his life had transformed in ways he never could have imagined. The viral video had brought an unexpected spotlight to the story, but more importantly, It had connected him with hundreds of other cancer patients who reached out to share their own struggle. The Community Heroes Foundation had hired him as their first patient advocate, a role that allowed him to work flexible hours around his treatment schedule while helping others navigate the complex world of medical finance. "This is surreal," Matt said to Travis during one of their regular phone calls. "6 months ago, I was hiding my diagnosis from everyone. Now, I'm getting paid to help other people through the same thing I'm dealing with." "How does it feel?" Travis asked. "Scary," Matt admitted, "but good scary. Like I'm finally doing something that matters." Cheek. What Matt still didn't know was that every salary payment from the Community Heroes Foundation ultimately came from Travis's personal account, routed through a complex structure of legitimate charitable operation that his financial team had established. The foundation had become real in every sense. It now had a board of directors, proper nonprofit status, and had helped over 200 families with medical crises. But Travis remained its primary and anonymous benefactor, a secret he planned to take to his grave. The media attention continued to build when Matt's story caught the attention of a documentary filmmaker who wanted to explore the broader issues of medical debt and the gig economy. The proposed documentary, No Safety Net, would follow several families dealing with medical crises while working jobs that provided no benefit. "They want to feature your story as an example of how things can work out," the filmmaker explained to Matt during their initial meeting, "but they also want to show the reality for people who don't get lucky enough to have a friend who helps them find resources." Matt agreed to participate, seeing it as an opportunity to advocate for systemic changes that could help people avoid the crisis he'd faced. What he didn't realize was that his participation would lead to the most shocking revelation yet. The documentary crew had been filming Matt for 2 weeks when they decided to interview Travis about their friendship. The interview was supposed to be a simple 5-minute segment about the power of human connection, but it became something much more significant when the filmmaker asked a question that caught Travis off guard. "Travis, can you tell us about the Community Heroes Foundation? How did you find out about them?" Travis, who had been relaxed and conversational throughout the interview, suddenly became visibly uncomfortable. I just heard about them through some contacts in the charity world." The filmmaker, sensing there was more to the story, pressed further. "It's interesting that they responded to Matt's application so quickly. Most charitable organizations have waiting lists. I guess they were just really efficient," Travis said, but his usual confidence had evaporated. "We tried to contact the foundation for comment, but they seem to be very private about their benefactor. Do you know who funds them?" Travis looked directly into the camera for several seconds, his internal struggle visible on his face. He had maintained the secret for months, watching Matt rebuild his life and career while believing it was all the result of an anonymous foundation's generosity. But sitting there, being questioned about the foundation he had created, Travis realized he was facing a choice: continue the lie or tell the truth about what he had done. "Actually," Travis said slowly, "I need to tell you something that's probably going to change your whole documentary." The revelation came on a Tuesday morning in March, exactly 4 months after Jessica Martinez's viral video had introduced the world to the friendship between Travis Kelce and Matt Davis. Travis had called Matt the night before, asking if they could meet for breakfast. "There's something important I need to tell you," he'd said, and something in his voice had made Matt agree immediately, despite having an early morning chemotherapy appointment. They met at a small diner in Midtown Kansas City, the kind of place where Travis could sit in a back booth without being constantly approached by fans. Matt arrived first, looking healthier than he had in months. The combination of the Community Heroes Foundation's financial support and his new job as a patient advocate had allowed him to focus entirely on his treatment, and the results were visible. "You look good, man," Travis said as he slid into the booth. "Really good. I feel better than I have since this whole thing started," Matt replied, studying his friend's face. "But you look nervous. What's going on?" Travis had rehearsed this conversation dozens of times, but now that the moment had arrived, all his prepared words felt inadequate. The documentary crew was waiting outside, ready to capture Matt's reaction to what would likely be the most shocking revelation of his life. "Matt," Travis began, "do you remember that night when you passed out in the car? When I found your medication? Of course, that was the night everything changed. When you helped me find the Community Heroes Foundation." "About that foundation," Travis pulled out his phone and showed Matt a document. articles of incorporation for the Community Heroes Foundation, dated just hours after their conversation in the parking lot of Arrowhead Stadium. Matt stared at the screen, confusion evident on his face. "I don't understand. What am I looking at?" "The foundation was created specifically for you," Travis said quietly. "I'm the one who funded. I'm the one who's been paying for your treatment, your living expense, your salary." All of it silent was deafening. Matt continued staring at the phone, reading and rereading the documents as if the words might rearrange themselves into something that made more sense. "You what?" Matt's voice barely. "I created the foundation the day after you told me about your diagnosis. I couldn't let you go through this alone, but I knew you'd never accept help directly from me." Matt set the phone down carefully, his hands trembling. "The job? The patient advocate position? Real job, real foundation. We've helped over 300 families now. But yes, it started because I wanted to create a way for you to have income and purpose during your treatment." "Travis," Matt's voice broke. "Why?" "Because you saved my life first," Travis said. 2 years ago, I was dealing with depression, anxiety, feeling isolated despite being surrounded by people. Our conversations during those drives were the most genuine human interaction I had. When I found out you were sick, I realized I had the power to fix something for someone who had already fixed something for me. Matt was quiet for a long time, processing the revelation. "I need to ask you something, and I need you to be completely honest. Do you see me as a charity case?" Travis shook his head emphatically. "Matt, if this was pity, I would have written you a check and moved on. What I did was create a legitimate foundation that has helped hundreds of people. Your situation was the catalyst, but what we built is real." "But I feel like I've been living a lie," Matt said. "You haven't been living a lie. You've been living your life, fighting cancer, helping other patients, building something meaningful. The source of the funding doesn't change what you've accomplished. But if people find out that Travis Kelce has been bankrolling my entire recovery, what does that say about the foundation?" "That's actually why I'm telling you now," Travis admitted. "The documentary filmmaker figured it out. They're going to reveal the connection whether we participate or not. I thought you deserved to hear it from me first." Matt's expression shifted. "So this isn't you deciding to be honest. This is damage control." "No," Travis said quickly. "I've wanted to tell you for months, but I was terrified that if you knew the truth, you'd be too proud to accept help." "You were probably right about that," Matt admitted. "But how can I continue working for a foundation that you created specifically for me?" "Because those families don't care where the money comes from," Travis said intensely. "They care that their kids can get treatment. The foundation is real. It has legitimate charitable status, proper oversight, and we've started receiving donations from other sources too. Over $50,000 from people who wanted to support what we were doing after the video went viral." Matt was quiet again. "What happens now? When everyone knows that Travis Kelce created a foundation for his Uber driver?" "I don't know," Travis admitted, "but I know we've already helped hundreds of people. And I know that you're alive and healthy and making a difference. That's enough for me." The documentary, released 6 months later, told the complete story. But the most powerful moment came from an interview Matt gave 3 weeks after learning the truth. "For months, I thought I was the beneficiary of some anonymous stranger's generosity," Matt said, looking directly into the camera. "Finding out it was Travis was complicated, but the foundation we built together has helped over 500 families now. Those families don't care that the money came from an NFL player's account. They care that they're not drowning in medical debt." The documentary ended with footage from the foundation's first annual fundraising gala held at Arrowhead Stadium. Travis and Matt stood together on stage as co-founders, having transformed their secret into a public mission. In his speech that night, Travis addressed the revelation directly. "People ask me why I created this foundation, why I chose to help Matt specifically. The answer is simple. Because he would have done the same thing for me. Because that's what friends do. Because when you have the resources to solve a problem, the only question that matters is, why wouldn't you?" The final shot of the documentary showed Travis and Matt driving through Kansas City together. But this time, Travis was in the passenger seat. Not as an Uber passenger and driver, but as two friends who had discovered that the most meaningful victories happen off the field. "The thing about friendship," Matt's voiceover concluded, "is that it's not about who saves whom. It's about being willing to be saved and being willing to save others in return. Travis created a foundation to help me, but what we built together has become something bigger than either of us could have imagined. The Community Heroes Foundation continued to grow, eventually helping over 2,000 families. Matt's cancer remained in remission, and he continued working as the foundation's patient advocate. Travis continued playing football, but increasingly, his identity was shaped as much by his philanthropic work as by his athletic achievement. And every Sunday after Chiefs' home game, Travis still got rides from Matt. Not because he needed transportation, but because their conversations had become the foundation of a friendship that had saved both their lives, just in different ways. The viral video was eventually viewed by over 100 million people, but the real impact couldn't be measured in views. It could only be measured in the lives that had been changed and the proof that sometimes the most extraordinary things happen when ordinary people decide to show up for each other.